Well, there's a whole bunch of storylines. The dateline is the Big 12. Colorado's athletic director has gone to meet with the Big 12 conference, talking about taking Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes out of the Pac-12 and relocating them to the Big 12. Now, of course, there's no Nebraska anymore. There will be no Oklahoma, no Texas. So that conference to me is not as sexy as it used to be. But evidently, Colorado thinks there's much more emotional ties to playing those guys in the Midlands than being out here. That's item one. Pac-12 is yet to get its TV media deal done. Pac-12 is yet to extend an invitation to somebody, be it San Diego State, etc. But if they lose Colorado, now they'll be down 3 teams because USC, UCLA vacate after this year. So they'll be down to 9. What do? Does the Pac-12 immediately offer San Diego State to get them back to 10? I'll give you something different. And this kind of, I shouldn't drink Corona beer on the weekend. But here's the theory. The Big 12 has talked to 2 other schools about coming in as basketball members only.
Oh.
Okay. Well, if the Big 12 can have a conversation and what they're thinking about doesn't geographically fit, why not the Pac-12? Even if Colorado exits, Pac-12 ought to go after Gonzaga. Bring them in as a basketball-only school and go after the Aztecs and Brian Dutcher only as a basketball school. I mean, that would really add woof to the Pac-12 basketball.
Right.
In football, I'm sorry. I just don't think San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno, not surely SMU. I don't think they bring anything to the table. So what about the Pac-12 or Pac-10, or maybe it winds up being the Pac-9? Just go add Gonzaga and San Diego State as basketball members only. Wouldn't that be kind of neon light flash and say, yeah, that's a wow?
Well, and it's not basketball only. I mean, a lot of the other non-football sports, like the Aztecs women's softball team, had a great year this year. They made it to the super regionals. So that's interesting how, maybe they can craft it. But I think if you're a betting man, you're looking at the Aztecs, it's Snapdragon Stadium, and the momentum that this program has had for the last 2 decades. Why not having them step up? Because who was Utah and TCU before they moved into the big Power 5 conference?
Well, the difference was, though, Utah had a nice track record and drew a lot of fans, and TCU has had chunks of time where they were really good, and they got really good under Gary Patterson. So they were bringing lots of support to the Pac-12. You didn't see that at San Diego State Snapdragon last year, did you, with that football program?
No.
They're cutting the prices. They had to beg people to come so they could have 17,000 in a new stadium the last 4 or 5 home games because nobody wanted to go see Neanderthal offense, and they hadn't solved anything. So I just don't think that San Diego State brings anything football-wise real sexy.
But they bring a lot of other things to the table. Basketball, women's sports are great. And then academically, the San Diego State is taking a big step forward. You got the San Diego State West campus that's growing. So I don't know. I think they've got a lot going. And besides, there's no other SoCal team for the Pac-12.
How much money do you have in your checkbook, in your checking account? There's another intangible question here. They struggled to put together a pool of money for the Aztec kids in NIL. What do you think they're paying in the NIL per player at Oregon and Washington and Oregon State, et cetera?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that money going to come from? You going to write a check, John? John, how much money is in your checking account?
Well, I'm curious to how these other programs are structuring it. Because on one level, you think that the money comes from boosters, from advertisers that are putting in the money. But don't they raise ticket prices and peel off a percentage of that goes into the NIL fund? So maybe San Diego State needs to look at it a little differently.
Well, I do believe that the marketing agreement the Aztecs just signed with JMI Sports, John Morris Sports Promotional Marketing Company, going to include JMI creating revenue streams for the NIL pool. But I don't think there are many big cigars here in San Diego like there are big cigars at TCU or some of these other places that are funding all this. So fascinating to see where this goes. But this story about who's leaving, who's coming, who they might reach for, Aztec basketball, Gonzaga basketball, and the Pac-10, that looks pretty cool to me.
I like that idea. Absolutely. But, hey, why not Snapdragon host some more concerts and things like that? That might put some money into the bucket.
They are. I mean, they're going to host all the soccer, and obviously there's a lot of creative things that are going in, but you need a football program that's going to draw 35,000 paid to make this thing financially fundable,
Mhm.
and not 17,000 on your knees begging on Friday, take my tickets and come see us. Oh yeah, we might only score 6 points a game. Got a lot of work to do there in that. Before we take